Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to Yahweh. Now realize this is in a section where Yeshua is doing a very important thing. He's letting you know that part of his ministry is to have you go from just walking in truth to walking in spirit and truth. And we've talked about this in previous teachings, that means the idea of walking in the fullness of the intent. So he already had given them the fullness of the intent in verse 22, talking about murder, and 21 and 22, when he talks about what it says of old about murder. Then we have another place where it talks about in verse 27, you've heard of old when it talks about adultery. He's giving us the deeper understanding of how to apply these things. With murder, having it in your heart or having that anger qualifies as breaking the commandment. With adultery, lusting after the person even if you didn't sleep with them also breaks the command. And now he's saying here, we have this other commandment about swearing and oaths. In verse 33 it says, you've heard of old, you shall not swear falsely or make an oath falsely, but shall perform your oath to Yahweh. So let's understand the truth of the matter is, if you're going to swear something or make an oath, you need to keep it. Okay, that's the truth part. It says, leave me alone, and so that I destroy them, and blot out their name from under the heavens, and make of you a nation stronger and greater than they. Now notice what he's saying here. I wanted to bring this up because it has to do with the use of the name. He says, let me blot out their name. Now, is he going to blot out literally so that nobody will ever know their actual physical names ever again? He says, but no, let me blot out their reputation, their lineage, their authority, their identity. Let me blot that all out. It's not just blotting out the actual, the guy's name was Bob or Jacob or whatever. It wasn't about that. He says, let me blot out their whole reputation, their whole identity. Be perfect before Yahweh your Elohim. Again, there's the word tamim. In other words, be filled with integrity before Yahweh your Elohim. Isn't that the problem that was happening in the previous thing we just read? They lacked the integrity to walk in what they were told. He said, be filled with integrity before Yahweh your Elohim, for these nations whom you are possessing do listen to those using magic and diviners. But as for you, Yahweh your Elohim has not appointed such for you. What is he saying here? He's saying, don't be impressed. Because a lot of you are getting YouTube videos sent to you about, all these wonderful manifestations, so to speak, that are happening in all these churches all over the place. Stop being impressed. I mean, I even had people send me links to videos where literally gold is like falling into people's hands in these churches as the Spirit is manifesting and whatever. I mean, you can't believe the stuff that's out there. But yet, remember, these peoples were believing in magic and in divination. And by the way, didn't we start off this teaching saying that if you start to use the name like it's an incantation, are you not also starting to treat it like magic? If we just have the name just right, pronounce it just right, aren't we not just, turning it into abracadabra or whatever? Aren't we turning it into some sort of magic word? Okay, just say the magic word and something's going to happen. When the people stood up and said, we don't want to hear directly, Yahweh said that was good. He decided absolutely from that point forward that he would speak to them through men. And so Yeshua didn't change any of that. He never said he was changing any of that. That never ended. Yahweh still speaks to people through men. Okay, it was Moses, then it was Joshua, then it was whoever the prophet was at the time that was being sent to Israel. There was always those that were speaking through men. Okay, hold your place here. Go to 21 for a second. We're going to come back here. In 21:5 it says, and the priests of the sons of Levi, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for Yahweh your Elohim has chosen them to serve him and to bless in the name of Yahweh, and by their mouth every strife and every stroke is tried. In other words, he's saying, these are the men I have chosen. He says, I have chosen them. He says, your Elohim has chosen them to serve. So these are the men he has chosen to serve, to speak on his behalf, and so you need to listen to them. Their job was to judge every strife, every stroke, to interpret the law and to make the right rulings and the judgments. So the first measuring stick is if they say it's going to happen and it doesn't happen. That's the easy one. The harder one is Deuteronomy 13. It says, and the sign or wonder shall come true, verse 2, of which he'd spoken to you, but he's using it to lead you away from Yahweh towards something else. So measuring stick number 1, it doesn't happen. Measuring stick number 2, it does happen, but it's being used to lead you away from Torah, away from Yeshua, away from Yahweh. And now, because you might say, well, how do I know it's leading me away from Yeshua and Yahweh? Well, the measuring stick is Torah. It was leading away from his obedience to his commandments. Because remember, the covenant is you agree to obey, he agrees to take you as his people. And so this dreamer of dreams or prophet is trying to lead you to break the covenant. So simply look at the commandments and say, is this person trying to lead me towards or away from obedience to the commandments? Your purpose is to esteem and glorify my name before all the nations. See, what you do matters because what you do affects how people see him once you claim to be his. Hopefully we're understanding that. Once you claim to be his, everything you do is going to reflect on him as people watch you do what you do. Not obeying his authority is the same as not esteeming or glorifying his name. So we see again, it's not about the actual word or how you pronounce his name. It's very clear here. It says, if you don't guard to do everything that's written in this book, the Torah here, to fear the esteemed and awesome name of Yahweh. So you do not fear his reputation. You do not fear his identity and who he is if you are going to just disobey. Because obedience shows that you fear, that you respect, you have awe and reverence for who and what he is. You didn't earn any of this. This is kind of like the whole argument about works and salvation. He's offering them this stuff free. They have to then choose to obey to actually get to keep it. You see how this is exactly the idea of salvation and works, how they go together? He's offering them this free. They don't have to do it. But he's choosing out of his mercy, because he loves them, that he wants to give this particular people who he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob because he loved them, he wants to give this people that opportunity to be that light on the hill. I give thanks to Yahweh according to his righteousness and praise the name of Yahweh Most High. So here it says, according to, but really in the Hebrew it's better translated because the word there is ki. Ki means more like because. So what it's saying here is, I give thanks to Yahweh because of his righteousness. Not according to. According to sort of means like, well, if he does it, then I'll give it to him. No, I give it to him because of his righteousness. He says in Jeremiah 31:31, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I shall make or renew my covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah. Okay, anybody see the word church in here? Who is this covenant going to be renewed with? Israel and Judah. Now, why does he mention both? Because at the time of the renewing of his covenant, the houses have still been split. Remember, they were split with Jeroboam and Rehoboam. And now they've been split and have stayed split since then. It's a long time. But we're told in Isaiah about the two sticks. Ezekiel 37, the two sticks coming together. In Ezekiel 37, we know that they're going to come back together and then they shall be one. So hopefully now when people go to use Acts chapter 4 and in verse 12, they understand it's not about some sort of magical, powerful use of the name. We need to get to the awe and respect and the reverence for that name, for that authority, for who he is and what he's been doing and what he is doing and what he's going to do. So that we're really clear in our expectation for what he expects of us now and what he expects for us in the future. And so that we can then walk in it. And that's the whole point of all of this. So that you can understand it, so you can walk in it, and then in being able to do that, when people bring up these verses, you can now defend your understanding. And then hopefully, ultimately, you can teach people so that they too can walk in it.